28 Days Later is a spectacular film. For those unaware, it centers around a man who wakes up in a hospital bed 28 days into a zombie apocalypse. The zombies of this film are rage-filled people rather than undead creatures, but the similarities are too pronounced to consider them as something else. What sets 28 Days Later apart from something like Dawn of the Dead is not only its resounding take on the human condition and the impact of trauma and war on that condition, but also just the beautiful cinematography throughout it. It is rare to find a movie so wonderfully shot that its establishing shots alone invoke strong emotions in its audience. When you bring these two aspects together, you are left with a feeling of desolation that is quite profound. Something worth knowing about 28 Days Later, though, is that the theatrical ending is not the intended ending of the film, according to both the writer and director. The theatrical ending was the ending that producers and test audiences wanted, so it's what we ended up getting. However, in my opinion, if you can, try to find it with the original alternate ending. It will give you the full 28 Days Later experience. It really captures the themes of the movie far better than the original ending. This is my favorite zombie film on the market and a must-see for horror fans. Severance is a British horror comedy about a group of co-workers going on a workers' retreat in the middle of the woods. They pick the absolute worst place for a retreat and are promptly attacked. It's a simple enough plot that it could have easily proven to be a waste of time, but like many things, it's the execution that makes it worthwhile. The humor and chemistry of this cast is crisp and refreshing. It's entirely British, so if you don't enjoy the Brits' humor, then this will be a quick pass. If you, like myself, do enjoy that particular brand of dry, reactionless humor, then Severance is a must-see, really. I don't think I've ever seen a horror movie with this brand of comedy to it. It's almost reminiscent of Dead Snow, but even more down-to-earth, as there's nothing supernatural to Severance. Don't be mistaken though, this is still a horror film and it has many bleak moments to somber you up for the next round of dry laughter. It's really one of those movies you need to see to understand. Nothing else quite matches up to it, but I like it, and I think you might like it too. Ghost Ship is a movie from 2002 that passed under the radar for most people. To me, it stands out as a really well done rendition of a classic ghost story. The plot of this film is that a group of salvagers discover a cruise liner adrift in international waters. For them, this is a multi-million-dollar find, and it's way too tempting for them to pass up. As they explore the ship, as you would imagine, it proves to be much more than what it appears. The mystery at the heart of it all is what puts this above other similar films. Beyond a stellar plot, Ghost Ship also sports some truly impressive acting and characters that help propel everything along. The biggest complaint about Ghost Ship is the ending, where you can feel Hollywood's greasy fingers at play. That said, it still comes off as a well-made movie that can fill in an evening for you. An easy pick if you like a good ghost story. Mindhunters is at first glance a stock serial killer movie, but under closer inspection, it proves to be a little bit better than that. It's no Silence of the Lambs or Seven, but it's an enjoyable film. The premise is that a group of in-training FBI profilers go to an isolated island for a training exercise as part of their final exam. Of course, it turns out that one of them views this as the perfect opportunity to test their serial killer chops, and begins killing off their classmates. What makes Mindhunters worth watching is the nature of the murders. It's all trap-based and heavily psychological, not to mention the underlying tension between the entire cast as they pit themselves against one another, trying to discover who they can and cannot trust. While it's not a work of art, the acting of the film combined with the unique plot gives us a fun ride that most people can get behind. A good pick if you enjoy serial killer horror films and are willing to accept the slightly absurd premise. Feast is a fun film that actually spawned an entire trilogy, but unless you really love the shit out of this one, you can probably just stop here. The basic plot is that a group of strangers find themselves stranded inside a bar when a group of monsters besiege them. It's a raunchy, self-parodying romp that was the winner of Season 3 of Project Greenlight. Feast consistently pokes fun at itself and the horror genre, bringing a much-needed levity to the screen to keep the film going. It does have some legitimate scares throughout, relying more on disgusting imagery than jump scares, but it does give you both. Perhaps the most entertaining part of the movie are the character bios that we get for everyone. A solid pick if you want something scary, but with a lighter edge. Silent Hill is the best video game adaptation I've seen to date. It follow Rose, the loving mother of Sharon. Sharon has been having some real spooky dreams about a place called Silent Hill lately, and for whatever reason, Rose decides she's gonna take Sharon there to sort out what's been happening to her adopted daughter. Upon arriving, she has a car accident and wakes up to discover Sharon's missing, and a creepy-ass fog has fallen over the town of Silent Hill. As their search for Sharon goes on, Rose is confronted by eerie monsters and visages of what looks like hell. It seems that if she wants her daughter back, Rose is going to have to uncover the mysteries of Silent Hill. To put it simply, in one word, what makes Silent Hill fantastic is atmosphere. You feel the tension, dread, and pain of this place for the entire film. Everything from the music to the cinematography embodies those feelings. The imagery of Silent Hill is some of the creepiest, eeriest imagery in modern mainstream horror. I'm confident in saying that if you are at all a horror fan, you will not walk away from Silent Hill unsatisfied. Whether you are a fan of the franchise or not, it is a movie that does everything right to make everything feel oh so wrong. It's almost poetic by the end. Almost. Hostel 2 is certainly the best thing I've seen out of Eli Roth, but frankly that ain't saying much. What I will say is that Hostel 2 bothers to look deeper into not only the victims of Hostel, but also the perpetrators. For those unaware of the general story of this franchise, basically there's a place somewhere in Europe that kidnaps people and then sells businessmen the opportunity to brutally torture them in whatever way they desire. I didn't enjoy the first film, or the third film. This one has a bit more depth to it than the others. There are a great deal of role reversals that add a much needed extra layer beyond the brutal violence. Absolutely not a film for the squeamish, but not entirely without value, unlike the rest of the franchise. With its substantial budget, all the technical aspects are on point, from the solid cinematography to convincing performances out of our actors. Of course, none of that really stands out, and honestly, if you are interested in this kind of film, I doubt that's what you're looking for. You're probably looking for hardcore violence, and this is a movie that offers plenty of that, but it also has a bit more to it, which is why it makes this list. The Hills Have Eyes remake is a film that will make you squirm. The basic plot is that a family on vacation becomes stranded in the Nevada desert and are beset by a group of mutant hillbillies with a thirst for blood. Now that sounds ridiculous, and in a lot of ways it is, but as with most great films, it's in the execution that it becomes something spectacular. It is impossible to not feel for the family as they are unrelentingly attacked by this group of mutants. And honestly, it's hard not to feel for the mutants in some small way. The pacing of this film is wonderfully done, alternating from suspense to gritty violence to near action film qualities. And despite those changes in pace, the feeling of fear and desperation never really leaves you. Admittedly, this isn't a politically sensitive film, but come on, this is a set of horror movie recommends, so get the hell out of here. If you have a solid stomach and are ready for something that will leave you feeling uneasy, maybe even a bit dirty, check out the Hills Have Eyes remake. It's certainly something different. So that's the third set of horror recommends. That gives us another 8 to add on to the first 16. So we got 24 out of 31 ready for you. And yeah, I'm really happy with the set that I picked out for you guys this week. It's got a lot of gems for me, a lot of films that I've really enjoyed. Whether they have the highest rating or not, I think they're a lot of fun or just something you can enjoy. Like, yeah, Mindhunters and Feast aren't necessarily the best movies, but they're enjoyable, right? And I think that matters a lot more in some ways. Sure, like 28 Days Later is the best film on this list because it just hits all those technical aspects so well, has so much emotion to it, so much feeling to it. That doesn't necessarily mean it's the movie you'll enjoy the most off the list. You get what I'm saying about that? Because Feast is a lot of fun, Severance is a lot of fun, and like most of these movies are just kind of fun. Hostel and Hills Have Eyes are the gross movies of the week, I would say. Both of them are, well, like I wouldn't put them on this list if I wouldn't say they're good movies. But they are very violent, and they have some pretty disturbing imagery to them. So proceed at your own risk, know your limits, know what you do and do not enjoy. Because, hey, you may find yourself watching a movie and going, oh God, why am I doing this? But assuming you know your limits, I think that, yeah, you'll find something on this list that you can enjoy. Obviously, Jamin couldn't make it down today, so it's just me doing this outro here. But, yeah, I think that's basically everything I have to say. If I were to ask you guys a question, it would be, what on this list stands out to you? Do any of these bring back some old memories, or any of these make you kind of cringe? I don't know. Let me know. Let me know in the comments below what you think. And as always, if you enjoyed what you saw here, give us a subscribe and a like, because hey, we could use the support. See ya.